We're not going to hit all of creation, but we'll hit like through half of creation now, do creation next time, the rest of it, and then start talking about humans. Finally get to us. Okay, the important thing, the awesome thing about creation as we walk through the Genesis account of creation is we get to know a bit about God. Okay, we already know that He's all powerful, all knowing, and we see His power, His knowledge, how He creates the world. We also get to see a bit of His character. What kind of God is He? And that's revealed to us a little bit through creation. And so we're going to learn a bit about God as we go into creation. This is pretty awesome. This one shows God's power. Let me look up Psalms 33, 8, and 9. Psalm 33, 8, and 9 says, "Let the whole world fear the Lord. Let everyone stand in awe of Him. For when He spoke, the world began. It appeared at His command." God spoke, and things came into existence. It points to the power that God has, who He is. You and I can't do that. We can't speak and bring things into existence. Only God can. Only He has that power. So as we're going to go into Genesis now, you can open to Genesis 1. We'll actually stay there and start going through Genesis 1. But again and again as we go through Genesis 1, it says God said this, God said that, and boom, things came into existence. Amazing, powerful God that created everything. Well, one note I want to make before we jump into Genesis. This is kind of, I think this is absolutely true, biblical truth, but it's kind of my thing. I like to preach on this one. Rules of nature. Mother Nature is not above God. God created Mother Nature. Well, God created, I don't think there's no Mother Nature. Anyway, God created the rules of nature, the rules of this world, the rules of thermodynamics and laws of physics and everything created by God. These rules, these laws are not above God. When God created, He did not have to follow these rules of nature to create. It's not like, okay, I have to do it just like this so that life can exist. It's not like that. For one, none of these rules existed before God created the world, before God created the universe. These laws of physics, laws of nature, didn't even exist. And two, God made them up. God imagined this. It's not like, okay, I have to make the world this way. I have to put just the right amount of oxygen, the atmosphere just right, and water and food and everything just right for life to exist. No, He's the one that decided. He imagined it up and decided, okay, this is the way things are going to be for life to exist. I think it's important that we understand that there is no power, law, anything above God, higher than God. God is the ultimate, highest being with all power and all knowledge. So when He created the world, He made up the rules of nature, the laws of physics. He decided, okay, this is how it's going to be. This is how people and life will survive. He could have made it any other different way. He could have done crazy things that we can't even imagine because He's an all-knowing, all-powerful God. But this is the way He decided to create the world. So nature is not above God. God did not have to follow the rules of nature to create this world. He imagined them up because He's amazing. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. So if you guys have a Bible, and this might be the time we'll actually open it because we'll stay in Genesis 1 for this lesson and go through the first half of Genesis 1. I like reading out of the New Living Translation. I think it's just a very readable translation. There's some Bibles, even I will read it like, the language is just weird. I'm like, what does that mean? This one, I think just speaks more plainly. And it's a good one. It's one I enjoy. All right, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. The Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters." So darkness covered the earth. Light did not exist. The world is there, the various elements, but it's an uninhabited world, and it's uninhabitable at this point. God has not put form to it, created things yet. Like he's just, at this point, he's just got a world that is kind of, I say a mess, but it's not a mess. It's just ready for God to add to it, create the world, create a beautiful and wonderful world. We also see in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, it says, the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. We have the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Here we see the Spirit of God hovering over the waters. Here is God ready to go, ready to make this happen, ready to create. And on the first day, it's kind of faded. Oh well. Let's go. Okay, the first day God created light. Let's read Genesis 1, 3 through 5. It says, God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good. He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. And evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. All right, first thing, God did not create the light for himself. He's existed from eternity past. He doesn't need light. The light is creating for us. And think about the light, the natural light that we have in this world. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing. He could have made, I don't know, plain boring lights or whatever. Like he put, actually we haven't come to the creation of the sun, moon, and stars yet. This is just light being created. But still the light we see from sun, moon, and stars is a beautiful thing. And God created, a beautiful light for this world, and not for himself, but for the people who are going to live in this world. And what it shows us is God cares about you and I. God cares about people. God wanted to create a wonderful world for people. He cares about us. All right, another thing about light. How did God create light? He spoke, and light came into existence. You and I can't do that. We can't walk into a dark cave. If we go into a dark cave or caught outside in the middle of nowhere in the dead of night, like we're in trouble if we don't have a flashlight or some other light. Not God. He spoke and light came into existence. So light came into existence, not sun, moon, and stars yet. We're going to find day 4. So God creates the sun, moon, and stars, I think. I get the days mixed up. Anyway, later on God creates the sun, moon, and stars, but God creates light. What I want you to understand is this is not just like some temporary light to kind of like, okay, give some light until the sun, moon, and stars was created. We see on the first day God separates light from darkness. We've already got night happening, day happening. On the very end, verse 4, evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. So we already have morning, evening happening. We've got night and day happening on the first day before there is sun, moon, and stars. And so I think God, the light we already see from the sun, moon, and stars, God put that light into place. One of the biggest arguments against God being creator or the earth being only 6,000, 7,000 years old instead of billions or billions of years old is people use the argument, well, light from the stars takes millions of years to reach us. So the earth, the universe, must be millions or billions of years old. Well, right here in God's word it says, okay, day 1, God creates light. He hasn't even created the sun, moon, and stars yet. He's created that light, before he's created the source of light. Because that's who God is. He can do that. He is able. And so that light is already in place from the sun, moon, and stars. So we're already having night and day, morning and evening, the rising and the setting of light on that first day, because it's already put into place before the stars and the sun are there. Because we have an amazing, powerful God who could do that. Genesis 1:4. Verse 4, right at the beginning. God saw that the light was good. God, perfect God, creates perfectly. And the light he created was perfect. God sees it. It was good. Let's go to the next. Move through this. Second day, God created the atmosphere. Genesis 1, 6 through 8 says, God said, let there be a space between the waters to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth. That is what happened. God made this space to separate the waters of the earth from the waters of the heavens. God called the space sky, and evening passed, morning came, marking the second day. Again, God speaks, and this just happens. God speaks, and the water obeys him. You and I can't command water. God can. God speaks, water obeys him. One interesting thing is, it says God splits the water. We got the water down below, we got sky in the middle, and we got water up above. This water up above is not the rain clouds, the rain that we get today. It's something altogether different. We find out later on in Genesis that in the early days of the earth, rain did not fall. So we don't know exactly what this is, this water that he put above the sky, but it comes into play later. So it's just kind of interesting note that God does this. There is water above the sky at the beginning when God created the sky. But then the water below is the oceans. Well, at this point, there isn't dry ground. All the world is still covered in water, but you got the water below, you got sky, and you got God putting the water above. The third day, God made land and plant life. I'm going to read verses 9 through 13. God said, let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place, so dry ground may appear. And that is what happened. God called the dry ground land and the waters seas. And God saw that it was good. God said, let the land sprout with vegetation, every sort of seed-bearing plant, and trees that grow seed-bearing fruit. These seeds will then produce the kinds of plants and trees from which they came. And that is what happened. The land produced vegetation, all sorts of seed-bearing plants, and trees with seed-bearing fruit. Their seeds produced plants and trees of the same kind, and God saw that it was good. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the third day. All right, first off, I think that, as we all know, there's not one tree outside. There's not one vegetable, one fruit, one food to eat. Amazing complexity on this world. And it points to an awesome God, powerful God, an all-knowing God who could do that. He created so much complexity, so many different kinds of vegetation, so many different kinds of trees and fruit and different things and different colors and smells and tastes and all that. He's an amazing, wonderful God. And I think I shared this last week just a little bit. Okay, so I look at this world, and to me, it absolutely speaks of a creator God, not an accident or anything. Now, like if I took my watch apart, we looked at what was inside, all the gears and everything, like it would look at this very complex thing, and we would look at that and go, okay, no, we know there's a designer behind that. Somebody designed that, somebody created this watch. Look how complex it is. Well, if we take the tiniest plant outside, the tiniest plant that God created, it is way more complex than the watch on my wrist. And to me, it just says to me, there is a creator behind that. There's a creator God. And God, who created all the plants and everything, like it is incredibly complex. Science, all the technology, everything we have today, they're still continuing to learn about the world we live in because it is incredibly complex. And as technology continues to advance, they can look deeper and further into things. They keep learning more. It's not like, oh no, that's it, that's the end, nothing else to learn. No. They keep finding more and more and more. And it's because of an infinite God that created an incredibly complex world that we live in. And it just points to, an all-powerful, all-knowing, amazing God. All right, the other thing I want to say is it points to a God who loves us, a God who cares about us. He didn't have to create all this variety. He could have created one color, and we could still, exist here and be fine. We wouldn't know any better or whatever. But he created, countless colors. We got our main colors, but there's so many shades of everything. There's really countless colors on this world, all for us to enjoy. It's a beauty that speaks to his awesomeness, but it's also for us to enjoy. He could have created one food, and that's all we know, one food to eat our entire lives. No, he created awesome variety and all these different flavors that we get to taste. Points to his awesomeness, but also points to how much he loves us, that he wants us to enjoy these things. He made this for us. He's not the one eating these foods, enjoying the creation. It's for us. We're the ones, he built the world for us to inhabit, us to live. It's for us. And it points to his care, his love for us. He could have created one color, but he created countless colors. Not one taste, but countless flavors. Not one flavor, but countless flavors. Not one sound, but countless sounds. So many different things to see and experience. It all speaks to his majesty, his splendor, and his awesomeness. It shows us his care and his love for us. The last thing I want to say, there's no room for evolution in this. In God's story to us. This is God's message to us. He doesn't leave room for evolution. There is, right before day 3, we have a world that is empty. There's no life in this world. There's water. And then he speaks, the water splits, dry land appears. And he speaks, and okay, not animals or people yet, plants appear, vegetation appears. It's not this process that took millions of years or that accidentally happened or whatever. In one day, between, constantly saying morning and evening, pointing to this is one actual day. God spoke and we went from a lifeless world to life like that. Just boom, he spoke, it came into existence. All the vegetation, all the trees and plants, the fruits, the veggies, everything. Boom, there it was, created by an awesome God.
So in essence, there was a big bang, just not in the way that evolution.
Big bang. As we say, God spoke and bang, there it was. Yeah. There's some people that try to hold, I believe in the God of the Bible, and I also believe in evolution. And I think the Bible's very clear that they don't go. They don't go together. God spoke, and there it was. God spoke, and right away. And all one thing I didn't bring up, but it's like, it talks about each plant that reproduces itself after its own kind, as it says. So apple tree brings more apple trees. Everything. I don't need to go on. We're out of time, so I don't need to go on. But God created that, put that all into place, and God is sustaining it too. This natural world that God made up, imagined up, put into place. God continues to sustain it and hold it into place. And that's the world we live in. No, it's not exactly the same. Last thing, God saw that it was good. God created the world. Everything was perfect. There was no thorns, thistles, weeds, issues with the vegetation at creation of the world. It was completely perfect, completely good. Later on, some things happened. We'll find about that later. But perfect God only creates perfectly. That's that.